Thank you for purchasing a SmartCap for your Toyota Tundra. This video is designed to help you properly assemble and install your new SmartCap, ensuring a tight fit and the ultimate in performance. Please carefully follow these instructions to avoid damage to the cap or your truck. As you'll see, assembly and installation is quite simple. You will need a 10mm and 13mm combination, socket, and torque wrench, a drill with a 3/8 inch and a 3/4 inch bit. Also, have all-purpose cleaner, super glue, a sharp box knife, or scissors on hand. Given the size and weight of the SmartCap panels, we recommend 2 people assemble the cap. You should have received 2 large boxes. Please open both boxes and inspect the panel's painted surfaces. Once complete, place the panels back in their box. If any manufacturing imperfections or shipping damage are found, stop the assembly process and contact us at support.na@smartcap.com. We'll get you taken care of. Open the fitment kit and scan the QR code with your mobile phone. The SmartCap mobile installation guide gives you step-by-step illustrations and video instructions, making assembly a snap. Take the thin roof panel box and place it on the floor with the SmartCap logo facing up. Take the top lid off and lay it upside down, directly beside the bottom of the box. It'll make for a great soft landing when setting panels down throughout the assembly process. It is very important to leave the roof panel in its box, as we will assemble the cap with the box beneath it. This will keep the roof from getting scratched and protect the positive pressure air vent from having too much pressure put on it during the assembly process. Next, remove the lock nuts and fender washers attached to the roof panel and set them aside. Now, remove the right-hand side panel from the main box. You will notice one end of the panel is slanted. Place that end towards the air vent on the roof panel. Insert the tabs on the top of the side panel into the slots on the roof panel. You may need to gently tap it into place, ensuring a minimal gap between the 2 panels. Once the side panel is correctly inserted, attach the fender washers and lock nuts and hand tighten to secure the panel in place. To avoid scratching the paint on the surface of the SmartCap, insert the fender washers with the smooth, rounded side down. Once you have completed the right panel, follow the same procedure to attach the left side panel. Remove the fastener block hardware from the fitment kit, disassemble, and set aside. Next, take the front flange out of its packaging, line it up with the roof panel, ensuring they are flush with one another and taking care to not damage the gasket on the flange. To ensure that the flange seals properly against the roof and side panels, please use this diagram and follow the order of installation of the fasteners. Starting in the middle, insert the fasteners and loosely tighten a fastener block and clamp, a load spreader plate, a lock washer, and an M6 bolt to each fastener. The bolt head should be oriented to the inside of the cap to allow clearance for your socket or box wrench. Please note, you may need to raise each of the side panels to help align the front flange and properly insert the fastening clips. Also, don't be surprised if the corner fasteners are a bit difficult to insert. Now, let's do the same thing with the rear flange. Remember to follow our suggested order in which you install the fasteners. Once both the front and rear flanges are securely in place, it's time to tighten everything up. Start with the front and rear flanges. Following the same order from the supplied diagram you used to install the fasteners, we recommend you torque each of the bolts to 5 Nm or 3.7 foot-pounds. However, it is very important that you do not over-tighten these bolts. If the load spreader plate is beginning to bow, stop tightening and back off the bolt slightly. For the side panels, also torque each of the M6 nylock nuts to 5 Nm or 3.7 foot-pounds, making sure you do not over-tighten them. Now, with the cap sides and flanges attached to the roof, it's time to install the D-rubber gasket. First, let's clean the top of the surface with alcohol or an all-purpose cleaner. Next, Make sure the end of the D-rubber gasket has a clean cut on it. If it doesn't, take scissors and cut the end squarely. Start on the right-hand side of the rear flange. Located next to the rear door gasket, you will find a retention tab. Go ahead and bend it up. Now, peel off 6 to 12 inches of the adhesive backing and insert the D-rubber into the tab. You want the D-rubber to lightly rub up against the rear door gasket. Now, following the curve of the cap, apply a 3-inch bead of superglue where the D-rubber will be installed. You will want to line up the D-rubber about 1/8 of an inch from the outer edge and avoid kinking the gasket around the corners. Firmly bend the tab down and begin to install the D-rubber. When you get to the other end, there will be extra D-rubber. Line it up so that it will fit over the left side tab. Using your scissors, squarely trim the end off. Bend the tab up, apply another 3-inch bead of superglue, and complete the D-rubber installation. Once you insert the D-rubber, remember to firmly bend the tab back down. That concludes the assembly process for the SmartCap. Now it's time to install it on your vehicle. Taking the seal tape, let's level the front bulkhead panel to the side bed rails. To ensure the tape has good adhesion, thoroughly clean the front rail. Peel off the adhesive back from the seal tape. Starting on one side, apply the tape, ensuring that there's no gap between the front panel and side rails. When you reach the other end, squarely trim the end with scissors and discard the excess tape. Take the 8 thick rubber pads out of the fitment kit. Remove the adhesive backing and place the pads on the inside of the D-rubber at the indicated locations and in the corners of the rear flange. To add support underneath the plastic bed rail caps at the rear of the truck, take the 6 thin rubber pads and cut off about 1/2 inch from each pad. Gently lift the ends of the plastic bed rail caps and place one of the 1/2-inch pads over the weld seam as shown, and 2 stacked 1/2-inch pads next to the oblong holes at the end of the bed rail. Then, firmly secure the bed rail caps back in place. Next, it's time to put the fully assembled SmartCap on your truck. Given its size and weight, we recommend a minimum of 4 people to help you pick it up and place it on your truck. Walk the cap into position and then set it down. To ensure you don't dislodge your D-rubber, avoid sliding the cap across the truck's bed rails. Once the cap is correctly in place and centered on the truck bed rails, it's time to install the C-clamps. First, take apart each of the C-clamps. Remove the Tundra's trail rail caps and slide the bottom of each C-clamp into the rails. You will want to position the clamps to the left or the right of each gusset. To protect the top surface of the SmartCap, place the thin rubber pads in the locations you will be applying the C-clamps. Insert the top of the C-clamps and hand tighten the bolts. Once all have been installed, you can torque each of the bolts to 6 Newton meters or 4.4 foot-pounds. Now, close your tailgate and ensure that the D-rubber is just lightly brushing up against it. Finally, let's install the third brake light wiring harness. On the left side of the SmartCap, cut the ties on the extension harness and unwind it. Now, take your drill with a 3/8-inch bit and drill a guide hole on the inside of the left rear corner pillar. You will want to center the hole about 1/2 inch above the bend where the pillar starts to narrow. Then, using the 3/4-inch bit, bore out the hole. Next, remove the screws from the driver's side taillight assembly. Place the taillight assembly on the tailgate and do not disconnect any connectors. Feed the extension harness through the hole you drilled and down through the taillight cavity, from beneath the truck towards the backside of the trailer light connector that's mounted to your bumper. Taking the supplied T-harness, plug the smaller 2-pin connector into the extension harness. Then, route the T-harness up over the frame towards the backside of the trailer light connector. Unplug the 7-pin connector and plug it into one end of the T-harness. Then, plug the other end of the T-harness into your truck's trailer light connector. Then, cleanly zip tie the excess cable up and out of the way. Finally, reinstall the driver's side taillight and test the brake lights. If all is working correctly, your Toyota Tundra Edition SmartCap is officially installed. Should you have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact us. Visit smartcap.com for more information. SmartCap.